Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for Managing Digital Transformation in the Field, How to Clear the Change Management Hurdle. We are really happy that you've taken the time to join us today. My name is Emily Rhodes. I am the Director of Marketing here at Liquid Frameworks, and I will be acting as the moderator for our webinar today. So I'd like to start with some housekeeping notes. We've muted the phone lines on our end to avoid any interruptions during the presentation today. We will, however, allow time for a short question and answer session at the end of the presentation. So if you have a question, please enter it in the chat section on the right-hand side of the screen, and we will answer it at the end of the presentation. If we don't have time for all of the questions, we'll be sure to follow up with you personally after the webinar. Next, I'd like to introduce our speakers. Joining us today, we have Justin Gerard, Solution Engineering Manager with Liquid Frameworks, Doug McCarty, co-founder of FieldFX, and Heidi Andrade, Solution Engineer with Liquid Frameworks. So today we are going to explore the single most significant challenge our prospects face when evaluating an enterprise-level software solution like FieldFX, and that is change management. Let's face it, no one likes their cheese to be moved. So today we're going to discuss change management best practices, and then Doug is going to walk us through the RPC through tubing solutions case study to give us a real-life perspective on change management. Then finally, Heidi is going to give us a demo of the FieldFX mobile platform to showcase some of the functionality that is built into the solution to assist with field adoption. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Justin to get us started.
Great. Thank you, Emily, and thank you all for joining us. Liquid Frameworks is the leading provider of facilitating the quote-to-cash process online or offline. And over the years, Liquid Frameworks has spent countless hours sitting down with customers across the industry, performing ride-alongs in the field, whether that be in a refinery or to a well site, and truly understanding the business problems that are prevalent across these industries. And what we have come is to deliver a robust solution that is both able to solve the various complex problems that exist today, while also thinking of the field first. While this is just a sample set of some of our customers, these customers are servicing the life cycle of a well. And as you can tell, these customers also perform in the downstream and environmental space. Across all of these industries, there are many commonalities that you'll find. Some of these being ticketing processes that are being performed in both Excel and on paper. And for many years, companies in these industries have operated with these manual processes, and these processes tend to lead themselves to various errors, whether that be with transcribing the data into the ERP, losing tickets altogether, or ease of reporting and visibility. And as you can see, we want to standardize and digitally transform these paper processes and Excel workbooks into reports that can be accessed by operators in an easy-to-read format and also able to be transcribed into any reports or any integration that might exist. Change management is prevalent across the entire industry, and these projects are really change management projects that disguise themselves as field service management projects. And as you can see by the methodology described above, and there are many out there, this is a simple 30,000 overfoot view, if you will, of tackling the change management around your people. And that is the most important part of any project. Up front, you need to be aware of the reasons that you want to change. You need to be able to communicate that change amongst your entire user base. Develop a communication plan for ongoing communication throughout the life cycle. They need to also understand the desire. There's going to be fear with any type of change. No one likes their cheese moved. So we need to address those fears first and foremost. You need to address the what's in it for them. They need to be able to understand why they need to be able to change and give them a reason to back the change. Make them your cheerleader. Next, you'll want to prepare them to understand that you're not trying to boil the ocean all at once. This is an iterative process where You can build a minimal viable process and start with a base education of users to be able to fully prepare for the change. And to do that, you'll need to first understand the skills. You'll need to perform end-user training with both back office and mobile technicians, and practice, practice, practice. I can't iterate enough how important it is to practice what you're doing. Perform workshops at various offices across different product lines and ensure that your user network is skilled to adapt to this change that you're enforcing. And lastly, reinforce. You're not just simply clapping your hands and walking away. This is not a light switch. Establish a super user network of individuals that can promote that change across the company, have contacts for tier 1 support, that have refresher training classes and ongoing training opportunities throughout the life cycle. As you adapt to FieldFX, what you'll come to find is that many times customers tend to find all new arenas in which to implement FieldFX, and that's very exciting, but reinforcing all of these refresher trainings so that people understand why they changed to begin with will create a tighter user network and a much happier user base. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Emily.
Thanks, Justin. Thanks for giving us, a really great overview of change management and all the best practices. But next, we'd like to give the stage to Doug McCarty from FieldFX. Doug, you want to take the lead?
Yes, ma'am. Like I said, my name is Doug McCarty. I was a co-founder of FieldFX, and we're a premier integration partner for Liquid Frameworks. So we get to be around a lot of this change management as it executes on the different platforms and with the different customers. But essentially, what I'm going to kind of focus on and touch on today is really our first customer, and that was through Tubing Solutions. So that's really where Scott and I, the other co-founder, we both started out from the Through Tubing Solutions side, and we're able to take the FieldFX product and really finalize it and deliver it. And that's across 23 different districts, across, I think we went to about 4 different countries. I don't know how many states and how many hotel nights and how many wonderful time, or how much wonderful time we got to spend on the road. But essentially through all that, really what I learned more than anything else is that I can't really tell you how to develop and deploy FieldFX. I have a PMP, I have a master's in project management, and so when I was asked to really talk about how to develop and deploy FieldFX, I can't, because really the only thing I could do is talk about RACI charts and communication channels, and that really wouldn't do anybody any good, because number one, I don't know what your company looks like, and this is, as change management, as development, as deployment, it's all very personal. The second thing is that there's a wealth of that information out on Google to go through and look at the actual breakdown of the PMBOK and how all that lays out. And number 3 is it would be incredibly boring, and I don't like being bored, so I'm going to try not to bore you as much as possible. So rather than tell you how to develop and deploy FieldFX, I really want to focus on how not to. Basically, a lot of the traps to be aware of and to watch out for as you're going through this iterative process. And really the first one is, and Justin really nailed it on the head about not boiling the ocean. It's don't try to take over the world today, right? There's a million different spreadsheets out there. And essentially that's what we see as we go from customer to customer to customer. It all kind of lays out the same way. There's these people who got into whatever side of the industry that they're on, or whatever industry they're on, and it started out as a little, maybe like a mom and pop organization or a guy and 10 friends, and then all of a sudden they became successful, and with success brought growth, and this growth just started spiraling and spiraling, and trucks were brought on, and people were brought on, and assets were brought about, but that original business processes never really grew with it. And so you're at the point right now where, man, we really want to jump forward and take a leap forward with FieldFX, and it is a leap forward. The thing's a Ferrari, But the thing to really focus on, like Justin was talking about, is you got to shoot for an agile approach. One of the things that you really get caught and mired down a lot in, especially like I said, because a lot of this development is people who have done this for years and they're used to their spreadsheets and they're used to how they write their formulas and their formatting, and what they're gonna automatically start out with is right, here's the problems, here's what you can't do, here's the things that aren't possible, right? And essentially they're going to focus on the exception. What you always want to do, though, is you want to prioritize what the original possibilities were. You want to take all the inputs that they give you. You want to look all the spreadsheets that they give you. But essentially, right, what you need more than anything is to get it out the door. Not every spreadsheet that they present has to be in FieldFX to start off with. Not every form, not every, I mean, if you're writing stuff out, yeah, please put it in FieldFX. You don't want dead data that way. But not everything has to be in FieldFX. You really want to start out with that iterative approach where you really just want to get the data. You want to prove the system first, and you want to deliver on that original scope. Always be willing to say too that, hey, sure, and this is on the development side, sure, we can do that. Absolutely, we can do that. Don't turn away anybody as far as detracting them from what the system can do, because believe me, it can do it. It's just a matter of, right, not only do we have to develop it, but we also have to train it. So how much are we willing to really throw at you to start out with? It's a lot easier to tie your shoes than it is to learn how to drive a 16-gear 18-wheeler. So let's start out with tying the shoes, then walking down the road, and then building our way up to that last form of transportation. The next thing really that I like to say is don't be a noob. Don't be somebody who just goes in and tries to wing the process. And by that I mean know your business inside and out. That's what I was telling you to start out with, is that I can't tell you how to manage your business, how to do project management on your business, because I don't know your business. You know your business. And really the best key to the people that know your business are the people that do it every day. And they can actually tell you the best processes to execute. You want to have those, and what I mean by this point of having intelligent conversations is, I mean having relevant conversations. You don't want to talk to somebody who's in the water hauling business about how you deliver milk from a dairy. Although, I mean, it's transportation and it's point A to point B and it's execution of a liquid product, it doesn't jive, right? Even though it might be very, very similar, it doesn't jive. So you want to have the intelligent conversations. You want to know your business well enough that I mean, you might even have to call somebody out. That really isn't what happens. That really is more of an exception than the rule. And let's build around the rule and then handle the exceptions later. Then the other thing is know the platform, especially if you're going to get in there to develop. Liquid Frameworks has done an amazing job, like I said, building the Ferrari that is FieldFX, and they're iterating and coming out with different functionality of this product all the time. Know that platform before you go in there and try to really execute on it and try to kind of bumble your way through it. You might find yourself doing a lot of things that end up having to be deleted later and take up just a lot of time and way too much space that really could be performed a lot smoother and a lot faster. There's several articles out there. There's a knowledge network. There's a wonderful support staff at the Liquid Framework side that will help you with FieldFX. And then there's also those contractors out there that they're pretty good too. But know the platform before you go out there and go out to develop. Now, what I like to say right at this point is that's the development side of it. And like Mike Tyson most famously said, and I'm sure somebody said it before him, but it's kind of like that point where you're going in and you've got everything developed. And that great laureate Mike Tyson told him, hey, everybody's got a plan until they get hit in the mouth. And this is basically the point where you get hit in the mouth, where you have everything developed, you've ran through all your P's and Q's, you've had those intelligent conversations, and you know your business. And then now, hey, we get to execute the change management side of it. And the biggest piece of advice I can tell you at this point is don't feed the bears. Not everything is going to be a dogfight. right? There are going to be people out there, those lovely, wonderful people that Malcolm Gladwell talks about, the mavens and the early adopters, and those people are great, and you want to make them successful. You want to make sure that everything that they do in the system, that you're there to support them, that you're there to support everybody, but you want to make sure that everything that they do in the system is successful, because those are the people that are going to be your champions, right? They're going to bring that out. But there are bears in dim dare woods. The thing to notice, though, is that there are two types of bears. The first type of bear is what I like to call the yogi, right? Everybody remembers Yogi and his picnic baskets and his little buddy Boo Boo, that's his name. Everybody remembers them. And the thing about Yogi is that he is a bear, right? And from a distance, he looks scary. And also, he's smarter than the average bear. But what I also like to compare about the yogis is really the key point on the second, on that third bullet, and it's going to be that they will complain a lot, but they'll complain to you. They'll tell you what they don't like about the system. And the way to handle those yogis and essentially Boo Boo as well too is to understand that, and I had no one on there, but there are some mascots out there that probably do like change, but very few people like change. Like nobody wants their cheese moved. One of the things, though, to really focus on about change and change management, and why people, in my opinion, and what I've seen push back the most, is not necessarily because, oh, all of a sudden it's different. It's more along the lines of, hey, that's the job that I've been doing for the last 15 years. And if you come in here to me and you tell me that, hey, the job that you've been doing for the last 15 years that took you 3 hours a day to do, I'm going to replace that in 15 seconds. That's scary. Right? That is scary. How am I going to spend my time? Am I still going to be useful? Am I still going to be productive to the company? Make sure you know those reasons. Like Justin talked about, how are you going to develop this? How can you take that other 2 hours and 45 minutes of that person's time that they used to be mired down and hammering through a spreadsheet, and nobody likes that, but they are comfortable with it. How do you take that 2 hours and 45 minutes of their time and actually use that to the benefit of the company? How can we move on from hammering on a spreadsheet and maybe focus on other problems that move the margins and actually get more profit? The other thing to consider is that all the complaints that the yogis give you, those are opportunities. They're giving you what they don't like about it. They're telling you what they don't like about it. They are telling you loudly, and they're telling you in front of everybody else, but at least they're giving you the opportunity to correct the mistakes, or the opportunity to present it in a different light or in a different fashion. They're creating that dialogue. Another thing to know too is that if you make Yogi happy, then Boo Boo's going to follow, right? He's the yes man. He's the guy who's going to back him up and say, yeah, absolutely, right, wrong, or indifferent. But a great thing about the yogi too is that after the dust settles, they are going to be your biggest champions. They're going to be the guys that are out there and saying, man, I hated this. I didn't think it was going to work. I thought this was dumb. And why did we have to do this? We've been making it just fine for the last X amount of years and making X amount of money without doing it this way. But you know what? This is really awesome. I'm able to do this. I'm able to get this information. When customers ask me about this, I can give them reports, accurate data of what's going on. And Yogi's great. He's kind of easy to handle, but then there's the grizzly, right? The grizzly from a distance, like Yogi, looks scary. I also like to consider the grizzly the onomatopoeia employee. And essentially, I don't have that good a vocabulary, but my wife's an English teacher. So the onomatopoeia employee is those guys that, let's say, hey, Justin, anytime you hear Justin's name, you just say, oh, right? It's, oh, I got to go deal with Justin today. Although Justin's a wonderful person, so he's not onomatopoeia at all. He's more expletive. But the other side of it is that these onomatopoeia employees will hardly complain to you. They'll complain to everyone else. They'll spread the gospel. They'll spread the wildfire. They'll tell you how bad it stinks, how horrible it is, how terrible it is to do this, that, and the other. They will complain to everyone, but they will never mention anything to you. And that's also the funny thing about the grizzly is really with dealing with the grizzly is you just got to know your role, right? I'm not a CEO, I'm a co-founder, but I'm not a CEO for these companies that we handle, that we deal with. All I need to know is my role, and my role is essentially to develop a product and to train you on that product and to support you in that product. My job and my role is not to make you love this product, right? That some things are impossible, but I need to focus really my attention on what my role is. And your role, the Grizzlies' role on the other hand, really is to learn the product. Like I said, you have no control or no sway over them, so you really can't dictate or direct their work, and you can't fire them. So you just have to understand your role. And then also understand the principle of resistance. And essentially by that, it's that physics principle, right? Where you have two diametrically opposing forces. Rock meets a movable object, or however you want to phrase that. Essentially, resistance is those two forces pushing on each other. The only way in physics to remove resistance is to remove one of the forces. And since you can only control how you behave, and you can only control your actions and your emotions and everything else, then the only person that you can guarantee that will step away from the resistance and not put up a fight is you. Don't fight. Don't ever take a grizzly head on. There was this terrible documentary, great documentary, I gotta guess, I don't know, a couple years back. It was about this man named Timothy Treadwell, aka the Grizzly Man, and eventually he went out to live with the Grizzlies. He wanted to be a part of them in nature. And if anybody on the call is a cousin or relative of Timothy, my sincerest apologies, because he got eaten at the end of that movie. Because that's what happens when you take on a grizzly. They win 100% of the time. Once again, you're not the CEO. You're maybe you are, but essentially, even if you are the CEO, you still need people out there on the job sites to bring in the money. You're not going to win if you take a grizzly head on. Principle of resistance and know your role. Then, of course, this last one's kind of self-explanatory, not the last one, the second last one's kind of self-explanatory. It's save the best for last. And essentially, by saving the best for last, right, you want to mount that defense on your side that basically says, hey, I've done my job. I can prove that I've done my job because all these other people really know how to do it, and they love the system. I got Yogi and Boo Boo over here saying its praises, but if everybody else knows it, and I'm the one, or we're the people who are training and developing it, and they don't know it, there's kind of a common denominator factor there, right? And essentially, if you do all of that, if you do all those things, if you know your role, if you understand the principle of resistance, if you don't take the grizzlies head on, and if you save the best for last, you will essentially want to use this phrase over and over again, or at least I have on a couple occasions, and it's I won't and I can't make you use this system, but somebody else will. Because if you've done all those other things, right, if you've executed on all those other things, and also, like I said too, be aware that people don't like change for the reason of it is scary, it is unsettling, but it's not just because it's change, it's because, hey, what do I do now? What's my role in this company now? Be able to explain all that. Be able to say that, hey, we're actually going to save you that 2 hours and 45 minutes, and now you get to actually do this and execute on this better, and actually that's going to make everybody more money, right? We get to manage the margins. We don't even have to worry about asking for more revenue out of this. We just get to manage our margins on the backside. So if you've done all those things correctly, then that last part of the statement will be true. I won't and I can't make you use this system, but somebody else will, because it is a good system. It is an excellent system. And it gives you excellent data and excellent customer references, and really that's kind of the only thing that basically happens in the end. So that's essentially how you don't, or at least the things to look out for when you're developing and then also deploying FieldFX as a system or change management in general. With that, I'll turn it back to you, Emily.
Hey, thanks, Doug. Thank you so much. Your insight and expertise is very helpful, and you had me giggling along the way, so thanks for that. Next, I'd like to hand things over to Heidi, who's going to go ahead and walk us through a demo of FieldFX Mobile. Heidi?
Thank you, Emily. So now that Justin and Doug have given us an understanding of what FieldFX has to offer and what to expect from the change management cycle with your field users, we're going to move forward and see what a day in the life for a field user would be like. Now, a couple of things I'll mention before we move into the mobile application. Everything I'm going to show you works exactly the same, whether I'm online or in a completely offline environment like a well site. Your users will never see an interruption in data. You'll also see that our entire user interface has been created with simplicity in mind. All keys are easy to use, see, and work with, making the transition to a digital device simpler, and simplifying your end user training. Now, in the FieldFX mobile application, all job details are available at the click of a button. When a field user is assigned to a job and/or a ticket, it's very easy for them to see all of the details associated with that. And what will happen is they just receive a notification that they've been assigned that job. All they have to do is log in, and of course, they'll see the details as I have displayed here. And if there's ever an emergency, maybe I need to go out to a well site at 3 a.m. because there's maybe some sort of equipment failure happening at the well site, I can create jobs, I can create tickets, and possibly even in the situation that it's needed, I can create quotes, again, directly from the mobile application in an offline environment. Now, I'm sure most of you have different job safety forms, maybe HSC, any other analysis documents that have to be completed out in the field and at this moment are maybe completed manually. With our FieldFX mobile application, we can actually configure pretty much any form that your field supervisors, field users need to have access to. So you'll notice on the screen right now, I actually have a job safety analysis document that we have created for our field users. All of the fields that on a manual document, they maybe have to check off, maybe have to jot down notes for. In the mobile application, it's simple. We'll just create the fields, we'll create checkbox fields for them. They can immediately just scroll through on their tablet, complete the fields as needed, and this saves them a lot of time instead of them having to maybe manually create this document each day. We can also create things like sign-in sheets. So if I have a team of individuals on this specific job today, and I want to add their names as the field members that are with me for today's meeting, or today's safety meeting, I can immediately add their names here to the sign-in sheet. And what the mobile application will do for me is immediately generate a report that, again, I can see with all of my fields completed. But in addition to that, on my tablet, everyone that's with me at the safety meeting that morning can just immediately sign on this document. Makes it, again, very simple for everyone to complete their forms as needed. It's a fast process. And then once I've got all of my necessary signatures, I can just save this and move forward with my day. In addition to the forms that we can configure within the mobile application, your field users will also have access to tickets. Now, from the ticket perspective, what we can do in addition to, of course, the basic necessities around a ticket is also create and configure checklists so that it's simple for a field user to follow a checklist and see exactly what they need to do for the specific work that needs to be done that day. So you'll see here, my first item on the list is to add details to my ticket. I've got most of my details added here. If I needed, I could immediately just type away some notes. But also, you'll see that I have a checkbox here relating to subsistence charges. So part of the suite of modules that we have with FieldFX, one of the modules that we have is called CPQ, or Configure Price Quote. This tool actually allows us, when I check off this checkbox, to drive items automatically onto my ticket. The purpose for this, let me check off my add details here, but the purpose for this, you'll see the 3 items in red, is so that we can reduce revenue leakage. I know a lot of times we're completing field tickets out in the field, and maybe sometimes we're just kind of rushing through them because it's the end of the day, I want to go home, and a lot of times we see items that are forgotten. So this allows us to just automatically add those items for the field user, and or we can create questions that are maybe prompts that allow us to maybe understand the location that they're operating at for the day, maybe the conditions under which we're operating, and again, drive those items automatically onto the ticket, saving that field user plenty of time so that they don't have to manually add those at the end of the day, and again, reducing that revenue loss. When it comes to adding additional ticket items, what the field users also have access to is everything that was quoted, but in addition to that, so you'll see here is a list of the items that were on my original quote for this job, but in addition to that, we also have access to all of the items that are on this job's price book. So a lot of times what we see is that maybe items that were quoted are correct, but in addition to that, we see some additional circumstances at the well site that day, and we need access to more items that were available under my price book. As you can see, I have access to all of the items in this specific price book here. I can add any items as needed, and allows me to move forward with adding and having all of the specific ticket items as needed. I can also have additional ticket details. Since this is a labor item, it allows me to go ahead and add maybe the hours that are worked towards this specific labor item here. And once I have all of the ticket items displayed and ready to go, I can go back to my checklist, check off that that step has been completed, and again, move forward. Now, my next step is to complete any ticket logs for that day. And what we see a lot of our customers using this for is to log any non-productive time that might have occurred in the field. So in this case specifically, we actually have a pick list that allows us to see what the causes to that non-productive time might have been. And these pick lists drive my next value here for issue. So whether that's equipment failure, I can immediately go ahead and add in what the reason was for my non-productive time, the start and end time, any comments associated to this, and again, continue to build and add everything that's part of my ticket. Of course, we've already completed our job safety analysis document, so I'm just going to go ahead and check off that we've completed our forms. And then in the last step, or second to last step here, we're going to be able to sign our ticket. And here we have a field ticket that's been generated for me with all of the correct items, whether that's equipment and services and/or labor items. You're also able to see I have the latitude and longitude of where this field ticket was completed, allowing for us to quickly display proof of delivery for this ticket. You can also see now in this customer stamp, I can actually, on my tablet, I would be able to click this, and it allows me to just take a picture immediately. I don't have a camera on this device at the time, so I'm going to go ahead and show you and add a file here that allows me to display a customer stamp, but again, you would be actually taking a picture on your tablet. And then just to finish everything off with the ticket, just like we did on the JSA, if we're out in the field site and the company man happens to be with me that day, they can go ahead and sign on my tablet. If they don't happen to be there, we actually have a customer portal where you can feed signed tickets to that portal. Your customers can sign into their own instance of FieldFX and see completed field tickets that they can then sign from their own portal. But again, in this instance, we'll assume the company man is with me. Now, once I have all signatures, I can again save this field ticket. Maybe I want to print it if I have a printer available in my truck. If not, I'll just go ahead and save that record. But as you can see, I have a field ticket that's been timestamped for me. It's complete from start to finish. It maybe took me 3 minutes to complete a field ticket versus them, again, having to complete this process manually, maybe at the end of the day when they're just ready to go home. Now, a couple things I'll mention, or a couple things I'll finish off with. So as you've seen, the mobile application is very easy to use, allows you to very easily train your crew members and hopefully create efficiencies in how they perform their job today. Now, if you'd like to see a full custom demonstration of FieldFX, including what comes in our back office application, be sure to request a demo on the Liquid Frameworks website or reach out to your account executive for more information. And with that, Emily, I'll pass it back to you.
Thanks, Heidi. That was a great job. Thanks for walking us through the FieldFX mobile demo. So now we're going to move on to questions and answers. We'll try to get to everyone's question. If we somehow miss it and it comes in after we finished, we'll follow up with you afterwards for sure. It looks like I have just a few in here. Just a reminder, type it into the chat section on the right-hand side there if you have a question. We'll start with this one. We have many types of product lines. Can we have specific checklists for different types of jobs? Justin, you want to answer that?
Great question, great question. So the way that checklist was implemented is for that exact purpose. So based on the customer or the job type or the area that you're doing the job in, you can have specific checklists set up with a tailored list of exactly what bullet points the technician needs to complete in the field offline. So you can absolutely handle that scenario. Great question.
I love a good checklist. Okay, what kind of devices are required to run the app? Heidi, you want to take that?
Sure. So our mobile application is actually completely device agnostic. The only suggestion that we make to our customers is to have a maybe tablet screen that's at least 7 inches, just so it allows for the user to really clearly see, like you saw when I was scrolling through the JSA, clearly see all the fields, all the buttons, and just be able to work with the mobile application a lot easier.
Okay. All right, do my field techs have to create their tickets, or can someone else create them for them? Justin?
Another good question. Yep, so you can have those tickets created from the back office, have all of the items pre-populated onto the ticket, and simply sync that ticket down to the mobile application, have the field technician perhaps change some quantities, some dates, hours that they worked, and then simply get a signature without having the field technician create that in the field. We showed it from the most manual way, which is creating the the ticket offline in the mobile application. But yes, you can of course have that ticket pre-filled out and sync down to the mobile.
Okay. I am not seeing any other questions coming in, so I guess we will wrap this up. Thanks for everyone for attending today. I've got our little social media icons on this slide. Please feel free to follow us on all of these different platforms. And we'll be sending out a link to the recorded version of this webinar very shortly. So if you'd like to watch it again, you'll be able to. Thanks everybody for joining us. I hope you all have a great day. Thank you.